They said the cabin was quiet, but it wasn't. It was tense like a church before the first note, like a gym right before the buzzer. I was in 28B on a Skylark Air red-eye wedged between a window that wouldn't warm up and a stranger who snored like a lawnmower clutching a backpack with a broken zipper and every bit of hope I had left. 13 years old, south side of Baton Rouge stamped on my voice whether I liked it or not. 12 hours to make it to an audition I had no business dreaming about. And up front, right where the good seats glide back like little beds, a baby was losing her mind. You could feel the whole plane lean away from it. Businessmen with those sleep masks hanging around their necks like medals. Couples doing that tight smile that means we're being patient but not really. A lady with a scarf that looked too expensive to be that mean. People started bargaining with whoever runs the skies. Please not tonight. That's when the mom stood up tall, perfect ponytail blazer that said boardroom, and you could see the cracks. She bounced, she shushed, she whispered the kind of prayers you only learn at 2 a.m. with a screaming infant and a heart that won't stop sprinting. I wasn't trying to be part of any of it. I pressed my forehead to the glass, breathed on the frost, drew a little eighth note in the fog and watched it fade. B. Ms. Beatrice Holloway. But everyone called her B, sat in 28A with a paperback and the soft kind of eyes that remind you to unclench your jaw. You all right, sugar? She asked without looking up. Fine, I lied. She hummed once low and warm. Doesn't sound like fine. I didn't answer. I just touched the folded paper in my pocket, a bus transfer with pencil scratches that only I could read, and I started to hum barely like breathing through a straw. Grandma used to say, when the world is loud, we make our own quiet. The tune was River at Dawn, the one she sang over dishwater, and Overdue Notices, the one she used when my stomach growled too loud for sleep. A few rows up the scarf lady hissed, "Oh, come on," like my hum was a crime. And from the front, a man with a silver watch raised his hand like he was hailing a taxi. Flight attendant, he said, not asked. I paid for silence up here. B cut her eyes toward me, then toward the front, then back to me. Keep your river, baby, she whispered. Some folks never learned to swim. The baby's wails sharpened. Not just hunger, not just tired, that breath-hitching panic that turns faces purple. The mom's hands shook. Another passenger offered headphones like Band-Aids for a bullet hole. The flight attendant Tessa on her name tag tried a warm bottle, a pacifier, a soft cloth on tiny ears. Nothing stuck. I don't know what made me stand the hum up into a note, then a line, then a real thing with bones. Maybe it was the way the sound cut through me like panic radio. Maybe it was the way the mother's mouth shaped please without sound. I just let the river widen. I didn't sing big. I sang like I was holding a little bird. River at dawn. The syllables more breath than words. The melody no one recorded because it got carried in kitchens and porches and back pews where microphones never go. The first miracle was small. The baby hiccuped instead of screaming. The second was bigger. The whole plane shut up. Even the snorer next to me paused like his body remembered quiet from another lifetime. B smiled with tears in the corners. There he is, she whispered like she'd found a missing photograph. The mom turned in her aisle like she was tracking a lighthouse in fog. The baby little fists, open eyes wide, locked onto sound like it was a hand. She fell asleep mid-sob, one last hiccup. Then that heavy, warm baby slump that knocks out grown men. You could feel the tension slide down the walls. People exhaled. Someone clapped once before thinking better of it. And then Silverwatch cleared his throat. Coincidence, he announced. Baby exhausted herself. B didn't even look at him. Hush, she said, and the hush worked better than any argument. The mom, she had that groomed look that says she knows how to run a meeting, and a house staff stood there with her mouth partway open. She wiped her face with the back of her wrist the way you do when your hands are full and pride won't let you cry proper. She looked back toward economy, toward me, toward the kid in the faded Pelican's hoodie, trying to be smaller than his voice. Then she swallowed her thanks like a pill and sat down. For a minute, I wished I'd never opened my mouth. Then the captain hit some chop, the fastened seatbelt sign dinged like a bad bell, and the cabin rattled. The baby startled, gearing up to blow. I slid the river back under my breath and rode the bumps like drums. She settled again. The mom turned in her seat and caught me mid-note. Our eyes met. It felt like picking up a live wire. She stood up, walked back. People watched like it was a show. "Hey," she said quiet. "Careful, I'm Serena." Her voice had sand in it. "She's Ivy." She didn't add the part that hung between us, "I'm drowning." "Jalen," I said, because that's what my name is, and because maybe I was tired of being invisible. "Hey, Ivy." Ivy reached that grabby baby way like picking a star and missed by a row. Serena's face did the weirdest thing pride and hurt at the same time. What was that song?" "It's just something my grandma made, right?" I said. Old shape of a hymn, her words, her timing. She said, "When you sing for the room first. Let it know it's safe, then for the heart." Serena tasted it with her mouth. Sing for the room, then the heart. She nodded like she wanted to believe. She went back to her seat, and the scarf lady leaned in and stage whispered something with the word embarrassing edged in poison. Serena sat taller, but her hands shook again. Bea angled her shoulder toward me. "You going to Cascadia Conservatory?" "Yeah," she asked, like she already knew. "Auditions tomorrow, 8:30, I said. Full ride try. If I miss it, that's it." "Who's meeting you?" "My Aunt Shanice. She's on nights at St. Luke's. If the buses run, if a lot of ifs." Bea tapped her paperback. "The Lord loves an if, baby. It's where he shows off." We hit more chop. People gasped, like we'd dropped into an elevator shaft. Ivy wound up again, siren rising. Serena tried bottle pacifier jiggle whisper, and you could feel her hit that wall where your hands forget how to be gentle. I slid the tone out again lower this time, steady like tires on a good road. Serena turned in her seat. "Teach me," she said. 2 words naked. "Please." So I did it simple. "Breathe in 4. I said hold 2. Hum out 6. Like this." I made it a game, tap the armrest count on your fingers, and she matched me off-key and beautiful. Ivy watched her mother's throat buzz with sound and settled like she'd recognized home for the first time. Serena blinked hard and didn't hide it. The scarf lady made a face like she smelled onions. I ignored her. Silverwatch aimed his judgment like a flashlight and hit his own reflection. The descent started. Pressure changed. Ivy's little body stiffened, that scary, gulping breath babies get when the air feels wrong and the cabin turned courtroom all over again. Tessa hustled down the aisle with the practiced calm of someone who's seen worse. "We're okay," she said, gentle and firm. Mom, upright, little chin tilt. "You..." She looked at me. "Don't go anywhere." Serena cracked for real. "I'm trying," she said, to nobody and God. "I don't know what I'm doing." "You're here," Bea said from our row like a benediction. "That counts." I put my palm near Ivy's chest, not touching, never without asking, and laid that long tone back down. "Serena," I said, "match me. Lower if you can." Her voice wobbled, then found a lane. "Good," I whispered. "She needs your calm more than my pitch." We made this little triangle mother-baby stranger, and the sound filled the space between us like warm light. Ivy's breaths stopped stuttering. The whole plane leaned toward us without meaning to. Silverwatch muttered, "This is ridiculous." Then I swear to you, 20 minutes later, he caught his own panic and borrowed our trick with a paper bag. Life is hilarious when it has time. By the time we touched down in Portland, rain slanting sideways, tarmac shining like a fresh bruise, my phone said 11 p.m. The conservatory doors would open at 8. Aunt Shanice texted highways puddled into lakes, buses, delayed baby. "I'm trying." The captain said we'd hold at the gate for lightning. I did math on my fingers and lost every version of the equation. Serena looked at me, then at Bea, then back at me, like she was deciding something she'd never done before, ask for help from someone who couldn't invoice her. "My car service is outside," she said, voice firm, eyes still red. "You're not sleeping on a bench." "Bea, will you come too?" she said. Bea, like they were old friends. "You look like the kind of woman who keeps boys walking straight." Bea did that small nod that holds whole church choirs. "I do." We emailed the conservatory from Serena's phone. Tessa found a quiet corner so I could record 45 seconds on Video River at dawn. No ornaments proof I wasn't just a plane trick. Someone in admissions wrote back polite non-committal, the kind of email that means be on time or be gone. The storm argued with the glass. Serena ignored 2 calls, then 3. Then told a man named Miles she was being Ivy's mother tonight and hung up like she'd finally set one thing down and picked up another. The SUV smelled like new leather and decisions. The driver said the bridges were crawling. Serena booked a cheap hotel 2 blocks from the conservatory like it was nothing, then pressed a fresh pair of socks into my hands like it was everything. B made me drink water, eat crackers, say out loud, "I belong in that room," until it didn't feel like a lie. I didn't sleep much. I stood by the window and watched the city steam. I traced my pencil marks on the bus transfer in my pocket and prayed to a woman who worked 3 jobs and still tucked songs into my bones. If you got spare favor, send it. Morning tasted like bakery sugar and nerves. Serena showed up with coffee Ivy strapped to her like a tiny general humming. "She wouldn't stop till we found you," she said, laughing at herself. We walked together under a sky that still hadn't decided. B's hand on my shoulder. Serena's on the stroller, Ivy patting the air like she could grab notes. At the conservatory door, the guard recited the policy like the alphabet. 9 a.m. sharp, no early entry. Then a woman with silver hair and ballerina posture opened another door and said my name like she'd been saying it for years. "Mr. Brooks, Dr. Harrow, come in." There's a sound rooms make when they expect you to apologize for being poor. I've heard it in offices and fancy kitchens, and once in a church with stained glass so pretty it made me mad. That room had it. But I remembered the rule sing for the room first. So I did. I placed the first note like a hand on a table. Not loud, not scared, just there. River at dawn, the way Grandma put it together for us, verses about overdue light bills that still end with sunrise phrasing shaped by dishwater and laughter. The air changed. My shoulders dropped. Dr. Harrow's pen stopped moving. "Another," she said, and I gave her "Goodnight Sparrow," an art song I learned from a library CD, where a tenor made it sound like silk and money. Mine wasn't silk. It was cotton washed 100 times soft from surviving. I kept my vowels clean like the lady on the CD, but I carried my house in the consonants. I thought about Ivy's tiny lungs and Serena learning to hum, about B calling me baby like the word didn't mean small but beloved. Dr. Harrow asked about training. I told her the truth. She put 8 measures on the stand and told me to sight read. I didn't know the names, but I knew the distances, the way a step feels in your throat, the way a leap hangs before it lands. I hummed it first, found the line, sang it almost right, fixed the last note with a breath I learned holding Grandma's hand. She closed her folder. "We teach technique," she said. "Hunger is up to God and grandmothers." She looked at my hands at the bus transfer I didn't realize I was still holding. "Full scholarship, housing included. Theory boot camp starts Monday." I thought my knees might leave me. I didn't cry then. I saved that for the hallway where Serena was pacing little circles with Ivy and B was telling a story to a nervous baritone. I nodded once, couldn't make my mouth work, and B caught me before I hit the tile. Serena kissed Ivy's hair and said, "I'm proud of you," like she'd known me my whole life. 3 months later, when my shoulders finally learned what breathing really is, they put on a little student night. Nothing big, folding chairs, stale cookies, but Aunt Shanice made it off a double, and B wore a dress with roses, and Serena sat in the front with Ivy in a polka dot bow. I was scheduled to sing something polite in Italian, but I asked if I could start with River at Dawn. I told the room why work and babies and a plane that turned into a choir, and I sang like I was still at 28B with frost on the window. Halfway through, Ivy clapped on the wrong beat. We laughed in the note. Silver watch. Yes, he mailed a letter. Yes, we found out his name. Yes, People Can Learn had donated to start a community chorus in my grandma's name. B said she'd run it. I said I'd come home on breaks and teach little boys to breathe low in 4-hold-2, hum out 6 until the world learned their names the right way. I'm not going to wrap this up pretty for you. Serena and her husband are still figuring it out. I still feel small in some rooms. There are days the theory book looks like math, and I take my shoe off to count intervals like a fool. But when I walk across campus in the rain and the wind slaps me awake, I hear Grandma clear as a bell sing for the room first, then for the heart. When the room is hostile, you love it into a better shape. When the heart is scared, you make it a blanket out of breath and sound. I carry a laminated bus transfer in my pocket now because the pencil smears if you're not careful. On the back, B wrote, "Enough is a moving target. Keep going." Serena texts recordings, sometimes Ivy humming herself to sleep. We made a lullaby out of nothing but air and stubbornness. That feels like winning. You already know what I want to ask you. On that plane, if you were the scarf lady, the silver watch man, the tired mom, the kid in 28B, What would you have done? Be honest. Where's the line between comfort and judgment when a baby cries in public? What does good parent even look like when the world's watching? And how many chances have you had to be somebody's quiet and chose not to, because pride talked louder than empathy? Drop your truth in the comments. Tell me what you've seen the ugly and the beautiful in airports and waiting rooms in your own living room at 2 a.m. If this story tugged something in you, hit like, subscribe, and share it with someone who thinks their song isn't worth hearing. Maybe the room is waiting on your voice.